Hey there! Starlight Savanna was the first season in the Next Generation franchise. 20 contestants are taken out to the beautiful and grassy Savanna to compete for money. Today I'm going to analyze the 20 contestants of that season, and this is only based on them this season, so my views on them might change depending on the season. Before you get to the character analysis, let's look at the season as a whole. Personally, this is my favorite season. I love the atmosphere, location, storylines, and challenges. It felt very unique and special from other things in the Total Drama franchise. Now, without further ado, let's get into the characters. Angela's role in Starlight Savanna was pretty clear, and that was to be a first boot. Someone's gotta go first, and it was her. I personally thought that she was written perfectly as an annoying character to hate. She wasn't just irritating, but also arrogant in a way. This allowed her to be someone that you wouldn't miss, which made her the perfect candidate for a first boot. She has more interesting plots down the line though, but we will get to that later. Unlike Angela, Jake was fairly likable, at least in this season. He was shy and a little nervous to speak up about certain things. He tried to take charge in a challenge, but that ended up being his downfall. I feel like he's a nice, relatable character in this season, but I believe his placement is justified. With a ton of strategic moves and plot points ahead, he would not really fit in with everyone else. Xavier is a perfect example of why strategy in this show is so captivating. Everyone interprets things and uses strategy in a different way. Some may try to focus on challenges, while others think about how they can manipulate people. Xavier thinks logically and uses numerical data to make his way through the game. Well, he didn't make it very far this time around. He tried to join up with the boys, and it ended up with him being a target. We'll have to wait and see for Xavier to truly become great. I'm going to be fully honest, I don't really like Wendell. She's written as she should be, and she fulfills the point of her character, but I just personally find her annoyingly overprotective and uptight. She seems to never have fun and is constantly worrying about things. Like I said, she is what she is, and I just simply don't like her character. It's nothing against the writing, it's just my personal opinion. Though I can appreciate that she was the first one to care about Ron and his problems, which leads to character development for him throughout the series. Octavio is a glimpse into a person who has completely given up on life. He rarely shows emotion and tends to bring down the mood of other contestants. Now, this may seem unpleasant, but it serves a purpose in the long run of telling a story about hope. For several episodes, it appears that his negative outlook on life will never change, but a big event changes that. In the challenge, where they have to grab gems from underwater, Octavio felt that no one cared about him and that life was truly meaningless. So he sort of let himself sink to the bottom. It's really sad. But Greg comes to the rescue and saves him. After this, you can tell that Octavio slowly starts to get a different viewpoint on life. But it's subtle. He doesn't get saved and suddenly everything is perfect and happy for him. It's clearly taking time for him to assess things, and like other characters, we won't see his full story wrap up until later on. Fran is somewhat similar to Wendell in the fact that they both look out for others and care about the well-being of the contestants around them, but in my opinion, Fran is less shielding than Wendell, and she seems to talk to more characters overall. Fran is kind, compassionate, and genuine. Her friendship with Greg is sweet. She ends up quitting due to her team being dysfunctional, which I believe ends her character off nicely this season. Cosmo doesn't attempt to do much strategizing in this season, but he is amazing at comedic relief. His lines always can get a laugh out of you, and his jokes usually fit the situation well. He also attempted to get China and Megan to be friends, so that was nice of him. He gets more development later on though, so we'll have to wait until then. Landovin is a cool dude. He's a songwriter, and over the season, he tries to come up with lyrics for his song, which gave a nice progression to his character. He was in the alliance with Danny and Casey, but unfortunately for him, he was the first of them to get out. He was a friendly guy who ended up being a solid character. Ron is interesting this season. He lives his life on a high note. If you know, you know. He gets angry without his stuff, and that leads to him being disliked by most of the cast. He gets booted off pretty early, but rejoins later for one episode, and that he sees Georgia reveal her true intent, and he's one of the only people to witness her true nature at first. This establishes a few things for the next season. Overall, he's kind of whack in this season, but there's nothing glaringly aggravating about him. Georgia is a very unique antagonist. Her main scheme is to pose as some airheaded ditzy person, but she secretly is up to no good. She attempts to sabotage challenges and other things, which she's actually pretty good at. Also, in her elimination episode, she was basically revealed to everyone as being immoral, and still almost made it through elimination if it wasn't for Violet. Violet is still a queen though. What makes Georgia special is her placement though. It has become normal for the villains in Total Drama to at least get top 5, so it was interesting to see her get 11th. Usually the villains stay long so that they can rile up drama and conflicts among the cast, but Georgia getting out earlier still works. Unlike most villains, Georgia's master plan isn't mainly at the forefront of the season, but the plot is still utilized enough so that she doesn't feel threatening. And after she gets booted off, the show doesn't feel more barren and empty of plot points because there's still a bunch of great characters left to carry the arcs. Jackie is loud and proud. She's very determined to win, as her family is competitive all the time. This leads Jackie to take charge of her team a lot, and she has beef with Aubrey about how she stinks. In my first viewing of this season, I didn't really like Jackie, but in my rewatch, I enjoyed seeing her on screen a lot more. Her personality causes a lot of entertaining arguments and drama. Her elimination placement is good, as she likely wouldn't have provided much later on. Violet is the best character. Alright, Vince. Okay, fine. I will give a legitimate review on her character. She, like Ron, was eliminated early and returned. She made it a little further in her return run though. Violet wants everyone to be her friend, and talks a lot. This leads to most contestants being quite displeased. Some viewers may find her constant rambling annoying, but I actually find it sort of funny and delightful. She is very innocent and sees the world like a kid does. She's a fun contestant who will get even better in later seasons. Vince is your typical teenage boy who doesn't have a filter. He may seem shallow and reprehensible to some of the contestants, but in my opinion, I feel like he does have a heart and care for others. At the end of the day, Vince's gameplay came down to looking out for his bro squad. What was funny is that at some points, Vince was the most locked in on the game out of the 3, specifically when Brendan was worrying about his team and Greg was obsessed with Jackie. I found Vince's rivalry with Casey really amusing, and I also enjoyed where he had to work with Danny for a little bit to stay safe. I found Vince being one of my favorite characters this season, to be honest. Brendan had some trouble in the pre-merge as he picked his team and kept getting blamed for the team's disharmony. I personally liked him more as merge hit because then he was able to be with Vince and Greg. I liked when Brendan opened up about his past, and that he decided to go to the gym after he was bullied. It was inspirational.
Look at Curry, man, just wide open and inspirational.
He was a pretty nice character, but he isn't too fresh in my mind, to be honest. I did like how he tried to sacrifice himself for Vince in the werewolf episode, but unfortunately they both got eliminated. Aubrey is a cool character because she seems the most reasonable out of most of the cast. She travels around the world, which is something I've always wanted to do, so that inspires me. Her rivalry with Jackie always kept me enthralled, and I definitely took Aubrey's side in the fight. She had some good friendships with Danny and Casey, but she went at the right time. The other 5 are more important story-wise, in my opinion, so it was her time to go. In my opinion, this might be my favorite season of Casey, whether it be to her fighting with Vince or her strategizing with Danny and Landovin. She's interesting to me this season. She was the first person to suspect that Georgia was up to something, and Casey revealing Georgia's hidden intent was one of the most climactic scenes in the season, or the whole series even. I respect how she stands up for what she believes in and is vocal about her opinions on things too. She deserves a lot of credit for making it as far as she did. Greg is your typical jock character. Or is he? Greg wants to be seen as a stoic guy who lets his athletic ability speak for itself, but there's a lot more to him. He cares about others and has a soft side. He has a self-conflict with himself and thinking that being nice or having feelings is a bad thing. Over the season, he seems to be able to show more of his true self, which I like a lot, but there's still some development for him to come. A lot of times in life, I was told to man up and things like that. Now, I believe to some extent that you shouldn't cry over every little thing, but if it gets to the point where bottling up your emotions causes you stress, that's not good in my opinion, and you should be able to show your feelings no matter who you are. China is definitely a character who serves as a person who develops others in this season, especially. Is this a bad thing? No way. There's a ton to love about her character, and she feels that she doesn't necessarily need development of her own. Because of this, she works well in helping other characters evolve. For example, Megan didn't open up to anyone about her home life really until she and China had to work together for a challenge. China also is pretty funny to me. She says some pretty hilarious stuff here and there, and of course, her famous slap is, iconic. She isn't just all laughs though, as she still competed strategically a bit. She was worried about Danny being a threat, and I'd say he was, considering he won. I definitely like China in this season. There's a lot to say about Megan. First off, she did an amazing job at getting through the game. She made herself very dislikable to the rest of the cast, but still managed to snake through certain eliminations. There were a lot of hectic things going on, so though people wanted Megan out, they thought, we still want Megan out, but this person is more important to get out now. Megan used that to her advantage, and also had a good idle game to keep her safe. It never comes off like plot armor or unbelievable to me either. Her backstory is sad, and it's really interesting to see her slowly be more open about her situation back at home over the course of the season. She sorta had beef with everyone in the Savanna, so her rivalries with people never got boring either. Danny's my favorite character in the season and the entire series. He has a cool vibe about him, in which he doesn't like to talk much, but there's plenty of thoughts rushing through his head. His alliance was always great to watch, and he was able to get through a merge while still having the target of being a threat on his head. He was able to team up with Vince, of all people, for protection in the votes, and he's actually pretty funny. He has some silly one-liners that get you sometimes. He is also so generous and compassionate. Megan was not nice to him all season, yet he gave some money to her when she took second to him. There's so much to like about Danny, and I will say a lot more about him in the later parts of this analysis series. Thanks for watching. Bye.